everyone, this is Jurgita with Magic Pond Crafts, and I want to give an update on my how StitchMaynia going this year. If you remember last video, I mentioned that I'm doing was it 15 or 14 new starts every 2 days plus couple extra previous whips. So I started my mania with this Lizzie Kate's kit. Hello Spring. So I thought it would be very springy to start with that. So it's my very first Lizzie Kate's stitching ever pattern, and I worked on this about 5 hours, and this is what I have. Show a bit closer, got a little bit looser. So I think I've done quite a bit of stitching done. It's very easy to stitch. I'm using all DMC colors that were put next to over dye thread names. So I figured out if I'm gonna have this little baggie, it might get something, you know, splashed on or something. Maybe my daughter would be using it or so. So as you can compare, I don't have a lot of left. A little bit over here done and the bottom, and that would be it. And of course then it would be to put it all together, and it's 43 by 69 count, and these are the colors of the threads that Lizzie was recommending it. So that was my first project, which was a new start. So the next thing I started is this kit I got from Pine Mountain Designs that I believe I bought at a library book sale. So it's very simple pillow sham, and it says it's 10 by 16 pre-sewn. So it was included with the floss and buttons and needles. So I just had to sort out the floss, which was not very hard. It's just a few colors, as you can see. And I haven't done a lot on this one, but that's what I have. I started from the middle and add to that. So there's quite a few words to write, and I don't know, in the picture this spooky night is not very clear, so I might replace it with something brighter, perhaps even maybe glow in the dark thread. We'll see how it goes. I haven't fully decided yet. So that's what I've done with this pattern. It looks like a burlap fabric. It's not very tight. It's very soft and not harsh at all to your hands that you would think it's as a burlap. Okay, on to the next. So this is my next new start. It was Stitchers 3. That was pre-pattern in Russian contact, what do you call it, like sort of like a Facebook group, and it's 100 by 150. It has a full crosses, beads, some French knots, backstitch, and these look like a dots. They're specialty stitches that are like supposed to look like snowflakes, but I don't know if I'll do that because I have a fabric with the dots. And by the way, that's like 34 colors in this, and I haven't done a lot on this. Let's focus first. So that's all I've done. I also started in the middle to do this little sort of like a tomato looking thing. So just did a little bit that and beyond. It was my traveling in the car sort of project, and it's fun to stitch. So if I would want to do that specialty little snowflake threads, I might do over some of the white dots, like the designer suggesting. Some of you might recognize this free pattern that was around the world, I believe, by DMC. So there's the different towns in the world put in here, and I've started with this very first one, which is Amsterdam. So it sort of reminds me of what's the, oh, I'm sorry, what's the company's name that does those little blacky little people? I know, I just saw them put in all the princesses and stuff, and I'm sure you're yelling at me, but anyway, I started with this Amsterdam, and I'm using 28 count white, regular white even weave fabric, and at the very last second I actually decided to stitch over one, so that's what I've done. So I'm gonna have a little bit extra fabric left. So this itty bitty little windmill, sorry if I'm moving it too much, windmill, that's this one. So it's also not a lot, but the start is a start, correct? Start is a start. So there's quite a few months and the parts that's gonna be left. So yeah, that was another new start of this mania. And the last new start I did in my first part of May is this, I call it Gathering, which is summer ball, that was in the cross stitch collection in August 2006. And I got a pattern from Russian magazine that I guess they reprinted, and I'm stitching that on even weave fabric, also not a lot of done. I'll insert a picture of what it was last time I worked on this. Of course, my what I made myself working copy, the colors are not exactly the same as you see in this, but this is what I have right now. So the only thing I think I worked is doing 1/1 facial tones, colors, and when you look up close, the lady's face looks very scary, isn't it? There you go. So, but it's the same as with this guy until I put in the back stitching. So I did some of her colors and a little bit of this lady's face, but once you put in backstitch, it's gonna look much better. And then only later I noticed that this was the guy's hand, which I didn't do 1/1, so I hope it's not very noticeable. So that was my first whip of the month that I worked on, and that is also a part of Jane Austen's Read and Stitch, so that I'm going through the same time with that stitch along. So that was my first whip of the month. And my last whip, which I said I have to work every month to meet my my own monthly quota, is this giant project, Washington Crossing in Delaware, that I'm part of. If you're new, then check my other videos. It's a big group of us that are doing, and my part is a sky portion that's gonna have to be stitched over the 5-year period, and I'll show you where I was the last time done by the end of April. And this is how much I've stitched up to this point. So that is like just tiny bit, like few stitches over half point of the width. So that's what you see, and I'm doing right now 1 page height to do. So there's still quite a bit to go, but you can sort of start to see some shapes in clouds in the sky, and yeah, it's not a lot. For me it's only 8 colors versus some that have much more. But I have, by my calculations, put myself a quota of about 70 stitches wide per and a full page length to stitch each month. This way I gave myself a little bit extra room at the end of that 5-year period to, if I don't feel well, like for example today, sorry, my voice is just getting back from all the coughing and being sick done. So that's I'm gonna be picking up again more today probably in this project, and continue to do my other new starts of the month, because I've done only half of them, brand new starts, and I'll continue to work on those couple of my whips, and this is always gonna be my whip until it's fully done. So that's it for the month of May, half time. I hope you all have a great time stitching and enjoyed watching this video. If you have any questions about any of these projects or just want to comment, put them down below. I'm always happy to hear from you, and I'll see you at the end of this month. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.